This call is being recorded.
Well, good morning, good morning, good morning.
B3 in the house.
Hey, what an incredible day to be alive. And so thank you for joining us this morning. And tell you, we've got a very special guest speaker coming. So you want to make sure, again, as I always say, you text, tweet, whatever you do, get them on this incredible call. It's going to be off the chart. And it's going to bless you, I promise, because you're going to find out how to get to take your desires and turn them into accomplishments, right? So that's in a nutshell what you want to have and what you want to happen. Well, you know, we want to talk about just for a few moments here, and that is making your November a notable November, our declaration, of course, we've been doing for November. So I'll just give you a little bit of this and prepare the way. So I'm making my November a notable November. By the way, just to give you the backdrop, Isaiah 57:19, I create the fruit of the lips. So you always want to say what you want instead of speaking of what you don't want, okay? So I'm making my November a notable November because I was made to be a co-creator, to have dominion and not to be dominated. Genesis 1:28, it says, and God blessed them and said, be fruitful, multiply, and subdue the earth and have dominion. Psalm 8:6 says, thou madest him to have dominion over the works of thy hands. As Adam named the animals, I name my months, my years, my days, and my life. Genesis 2:19, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. I'm making my November a notable November because there are contributing factors, yet only one deciding factor, and I am that deciding factor. I was not born a winner nor a loser, but rather a chooser. Thus I choose to win daily. Joshua 24:17, as for me, my house, we will serve the Lord. I'm making my November a notable November because in God's holy courtroom, I've been declared innocent, although proven guilty without a shadow of a doubt. 2 Corinthians 5:21, for he hath made him to be sin for us who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness. I'm making my November notable because I reap what I sow by having what I say. Thus, I'm committed to sowing better seeds so I can reap a better harvest. In Galatians 6:9, be not deceived. God is not mocked, for whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. I'm making my November a notable November because my Lord will work through me to make my words flesh, just like the original word became flesh, John 1:14, and the word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory. I'm making my November notable because I'm committed to passionately proclaiming and persistently practicing Mark 11:23. Whosoever shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed and be thou cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart, but shall believe that those things which he saith shall come to pass, he shall have whatsoever he saith. Joshua 1:8 says, this book of law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou may observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou, it's not God, listen now, then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, then thou shalt have good success. I'm making my November notable because I refuse to walk in depression, doubt, or denial, but rather divine deliverance. 1 John 3:8, for this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. I'm making my November notable because I'm focused on growing through whatever I go through, so I will ensure my breakthrough. Isaiah 54:3, for thou shalt break forth. I'm making my November notable because I walk in divine favor, thus I can expect and will experience sudden, spiritual, physical, relational, emotional, intellectual, business, and financial breakthroughs. Psalm 5:12, for thou, Lord, will bless the righteous. With favor wilt thou compass him as with a shield. And so I call that I'm covered by my favor shield. I'm making my November notable because the giant in front of me is only a midget compared to the God who is for me. Psalm 56:9, when I cry unto thee, then shall my enemies turn back. This I know, for God is for me. But not just the God who's for me, he's actually in me. First John 4:4, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. I'm making my November a notable one because it only takes one person, one decision, or one action to change your life forever. I am that person. I have decided, and I will take action. So let's take a deep breath through our nose, symbolizing we're receiving and breathing this in, and then we're going to breathe out our mouths. Ready? Take a deep breath. And let it out. All righty. Well, I tell you, my friend, what an incredible day here. We've got our special guest back again, Dr. Ted Ciuba. This man is literally a living internet legend, author of the book, The New Think and Grow Rich, well, and 39 other books and all kind of. I had an incredible time watching his webinar yesterday on big ticket sales and just following up and just doing some incredible things, making a difference in people's lives. And, I always say there's 3 levels of success, and that number 1 is making money. And unfortunately, most people stop there. Number 2, a higher level of success is making a difference. But number 3, the highest level of success is making money while you make a difference, so that the more difference you make, the more money you make. The more money you make, the more difference you make. And that's where Ted Ciuba, that's where he hangs out. That's what he empowers people to do. So you're going to hear with great delight, my friend, the brother like no other, the master disaster, can't say it no faster. Too strong to be weak, too sweet to be sour. He can't take credit. Is all God's power. Ted Ciuba.
Hey, thank you very, very much, Dr. Stan, and what a pleasure to be with you this morning, with Pastor Kenny Smith, and with leaders, people who are taking time at the beginning of their day to set the stage. And speaking of setting the stage, of course, you knew I was going to talk about breakthrough, the actionable difference between want to and accomplishment. Well, my man, I got to thank you because you set the stage. You say a lot of what I am about to say. Naturally, that's why I love hanging out with you. And, just to parlay off a few things that you did say, there are a lot of contributing factors to turning want to into accomplishment. There are a lot of contributing factors that could stand in a person's way, but there is only one deciding factor. So true. I'm going to give you several instances of that. I hope you're going to be taking notes today. And you reap what you sow, so you need to sow, and you sow with your words the things you want, the things delivering value, making a difference, making money while you make a difference, finding ways to offer a big difference, because all things being equal, the bigger the difference you make, the bigger the income you'll make. And I am convinced it's not the amount of work you do, it's the value of the work you do. You've heard it said before, and it's true, it is not trite. Work smarter, not harder. And one decision in one person, one action, specifically one decision, is followed up. I mean, it happens in one person, and it's followed up with action, a firm, committed, real decision. And incision is inside the word decision. It means cut off. So one decision, and that's part of the theme too. By the way, if you like what you hear today, you really ought to pick up the 2 different books that I've got. The New Think and Grow Rich, which, make no bones about it, it's Ted Ciuba standing on the shoulders of the most widely acclaimed self-motivation guru outside of the Bible that there is in history. Certainly outside of the Bible, his book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, is outsold by legions every other self-improvement motivational book there is. So you can come along, because get this question. Well, Ted, who are you to think that you could possibly improve that book? I mean, there's millionaires swear by it. Well, but in all due humility, I can just say that that book was published in 1935, and it was published at a time when quantum physics was, we had done a few things, like we'd discovered the atom, but we hadn't gone any deeper than that. Napoleon Hill simply did not have the language, the science behind him. Everything he said was right and accurate. Everything. But to some people, it sounded like voodoo and mysticism. Now, how do I know this? I began reading the book when I was 20 years old. I found it. Should I say I was walking in a bookstore and it fell off the bookshelf onto the floor in front of me? Oh, amazing. I even know where I was. I was in Alhambra in a little old creaky used bookstore that kind of had those wooden floors that when you walked you creak. That's how important that momentous decision was. I didn't know it. I didn't know it at all. I picked up the book, Think and Grow Rich. It was the first time I'd ever heard of him. I was 20 years old, young and getting ready to go. But I felt the electricity from the outside of the book. So all I did is I put it in quantum language, and I call that book The New Think and Grow Rich, and the subtitle is The Quantum Version. So pick that up. And the other one, which I'm going to quote from today, is called The Sub 4 Minute Extra Mile. It's actually not a book, it's a series, The Sub 4 Minute Extra Mile. You go to Amazon, you type in The Sub 4 Minute Extra Mile, and you'll see a number of different titles. I will mention a few of them that you might think about, and I'll mention a couple of them right now. One of them is Create Your Life by Design. Isn't that the message of the notable November that Dr. Stan was reading? Create your life by design. Here's another one. A single reason why. A single reason why can outdo every other reason why not, why you can't, why it's impossible, even proven to be impossible. See, the people who do succeed, and they are in the minority, the people who do succeed, I should say on a big scale, it's not the work. It's not the work they do, and it's not really necessarily the field that they do their work in. It's that they have a giant want to. So you got to start there. But that's surely not enough, because most people want to have $100,000 income. They want it. But most people, talk to them. I mean, start talking to people. What's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to start coming up with reasons why they can't have it. What are you speaking into the atmosphere? Well, you won't have it if you're speaking like that. So you've got to have a want to big enough, attractive enough, and everything else that it goes into. You got the belief. Now, you see, belief is tricky. And actually in the New Think and Grow Rich, by the way, which, is a pretty good book to read, it's got 13 points. I'm not going through 13. But in the New Think and Grow Rich, I used Napoleon Hill's same 13 principles. Like I said, my idea was not to do the impossible and improve Napoleon's message. It was to clarify and amplify and add rims to the wheels that Napoleon had created. So chapter 2 is all about belief. But I go beyond simply belief because, that is a word that a lot of people don't understand. And a lot of times it means to people belief in something stupid or impossible. They're just believe. How do you believe? What it is, it's belief that I call knowing belief. Knowing belief. I remember when I was a young kid, my dad was in the service, and he would go off to Europe. That was when they were building missile bases for the Cold War, and I'm older than most of you guys. But at any rate, I always knew that my dad would bring me back a gift from his trip. No, there was not a doubt. There was not a hope. There was not some kind of pushing myself to make myself believe or think or do a dance or say an affirmation that my dad would. I knew he would. I believed he would. That's the level that you have to get at to achieve big, big success, helping a lot of people. So you got to have that big want to. You got to have that belief. And, of course, intention. There's another book title in the sub 4 minute extra mile you might think about picking up. It's called Intention Trumps Time. It is not time that is the determinant. It is your intention. Let me talk about Roger Bannister. Roger Bannister is the mascot, if you will, of the sub 4 minute extra mile because he is the first human to run the sub 4 minute extra mile. Millennia back in ancient Greece, people were trying to run that 4 minute extra mile. But of course, nobody could. It was impossible. In fact, doctors even are on record as having said it could actually cause the death of a person just if they attempted it. So how could anybody do the impossible? Well, one person didn't believe that. See, belief is an important thing. You believe it's impossible, and for you, it is impossible. He didn't believe that. And in fact, you talk about setbacks. Everybody has setbacks. If you're going to be successful, by the way, there's no better example in the current news affair than Donald Trump right now. If you're going to be successful, you better just accept that you're going to make mistakes. And you better accept that some people, whether you're making mistakes or not, are going to be accusing you of making mistakes. And Roger Bannister, he blew it. You know, he didn't set his sub 4 minute extra mile at the Olympics. But he was a good runner. And he did go to the 1952 Olympics. But he came back shamefully disgraced, ignominiously, a failure. He came in not first, not second, not even third. Well, he didn't even come in fourth. He came in fifth place. He couldn't hold his head up. But he did something. He determined. Now, I use the word determined when I tell the story in the book, but it's the same thing as decision. He determined that he would be the first human being to ever run the sub 4 minute extra mile. Let that sink in. If you're like me, I heard the story of Roger Bannister all my life, but it wasn't until my 50s when I started doing research for this sub 4 minute extra mile when I found out the truth. I had heard, of course, that he was the first to run the mile under 4 minutes, but nobody ever said he intended to do it. It was always like, he just did it. I said, wow, that guy's fast. Oh, by the way, the first human in thousands of years of trying, and a year and a half later, 18 months later, 16 people had already done it. And today it's a qualifier. Now, you tell me we can't run the sub 4 minute extra mile. Roger Bannister changed the belief, the consciousness. He redefined possibility. He defied reality and redefined possibility. That's another title in the sub 4 minute mile series. Defied reality, redefined possibility. And today it's a qualifier. You got to do it to be a competitor. But the crucial point is Roger had a terrible failure, shame, disgrace on his family, his school. And he determined. He went after a specific goal. This wasn't, I'm going to practice harder. Hold on. Roger Bannister was a pre-med student. Back in those days, by the way, professional athletes didn't even exist, right? It was, if you get out of college, your career's over. So now he's looking at a burning fuse also. He had one shot left, one shot. But he's pre-med in his upper years, and he didn't have much time. Now, everybody knows if you're training to do something like that, this is like high level. Never been done in the history of humanity. In fact, it can't even be done. And you're going after that, you've got to train. You've got to wake up at 4 a.m. so you can be out on the track at 5 a.m., and you've got to have 3 hours under your belt before you show up where everybody else sitting beside you is having a donut before they go into classes just like you. But he couldn't do it. He did the only thing he could. He gave it what he could, and that was 30 minutes a day during his lunch hour. He couldn't even give it a full hour because, hey, if you've been working out vigorously, you've got to bathe, you've got to cool down, you got to get something to eat. Intention trumps time. Roger Bannister did it, as you well know, because he intended to do it. That's the whole thing. He made a decision. One person, one decision, redefined reality for all of humanity. See, he was committed to his decision. He had the intention and commitment. And by the way, if you're a note taker, like I hope you are, then those are the 4 points that the actionable difference between want to and accomplishment is 1, want to, 2, belief, 3, intention, 4, commitment. Now you say, well, where's action? Well, action is that quintessential element. Those of you who know anything about alchemy and mysticism, the quintessence is the magic element that you can't see. But it happens when you mix the other 4 elements, earth, water, wind, fire, in their proper proportions. And by the way, some people call that the soul. Some people call that the, something related to what does the soul want to do. Want to, belief, intention, commitment expresses as unflagging, undeterrable action, born from a clear mission and the certainty that you'll accomplish it. Get this. Want to, belief, intention, commitment expresses as the quintessence unflagging, undeterrable action. That's not just any kind of action. It's unflagging, undeterrable. People ask me, how did you get success? It was interesting, it was very interesting. I tell you what, I was so dumb, I didn't know that it was supposed to be difficult. When I decided, I just went after it. Now, when did I find out it was supposed to be difficult? 18 months, 24 months later, when the same people that I started the journey with were marveling me. They're the ones who made me America's foremost internet marketing consultant. The same people I started with, they were making $20,000, and I was making $100,000 by, 18 months later. I said, well, it's supposed to be hard. Oh, well, what was the difference? The difference was just right there. Man, I went after what I went after, knowing that I could get it. Wow! I had people like Dr. Stan teaching me how to do it. Did I believe? Dude, I knew these people like Ted Nicholas and a few others. I knew these people were millionaires. I knew they were doing it. I trusted that they were telling me the real secrets. I put them in motion, and that's what happened. There's other people who have dreamed too. Everybody knows Bill Gates. From time to time, he's the richest man in the world. He's certainly a noble specimen of humanity. He does a lot of charitable work. Started in an alley in, I think it was in maybe Tucson, Arizona. Don't quote me on that, but I know he started in an upstairs alley doorway. And he had a dream, though. He started with a dream. So you got to have that dream. What was his vision? It was clear, right? Just like Roger Bannister determined he would be the first human to ever run the sub 4-minute extra mile. Well, Bill Gates said, a PC on every desk and Microsoft inside it. This was when PC was a dream. This was when nobody but people like Bill Gates understood a PC. This was when, it was just a year or two before, when a computer was, the workings of a computer was bigger than everything that goes inside of a bus. Man, they filled buildings. They filled multiple stories. And Bill was talking about a computer on a desk, on every desk. Microsoft inside. And you know that works. Oh, by the way, those of you who have enough age on you know that his Microsoft operating system wasn't perfect. Those of you who have the growing up with Microsoft used to get the deaded blue screen when things would freeze up and you'd lose everything you'd done. That's when I learned to save off. But he did it. The Wright brothers. Do you know that it was impossible to fly? Oh, people had tried. Oh, there have been people that had gone down in the river, people that had gone down mountainsides. You know, it'd been a dream, but only the birds could fly. The scientists proved that it was impossible. They did the calculations, their math, their flight, impossible to fly. So the newspaper would not even show up when the Wright brothers did their flight. They were invited, but they wouldn't show up. Hey, and it gets worse and dumber and stupider. Whenever they took their own photos, they wrote up the old press blurb, they took it to the newspaper still wouldn't publish it because humans can't fly. Why were the Wright brothers able to fly? I read it in a book the other day. Because they had a childish belief that they could. You see, it wasn't like we're going to try something, we're going to try something else, and Lord, I hope this works. It was like, look, that didn't work. Let's put the engine in the back and see maybe if that makes a difference. Let's use two wings. Let's do this. Let's do that. All the while having that knowing belief that they just hadn't discovered it. Same thing with Thomas Edison. You've heard 10,000 times, 10,000 trials. People liked to laugh, call it 10,000 failures. Thomas Edison never once called it a failure. He called it another trial. That's cataloged. Now we know what will and what won't work. So that's it. The sum up here, and Roger Bannister, by the way, is the greatest example that I like to use because he illustrates everything on it. But the sum up is to have that breakthrough that you're looking for. You want to know what the actionable difference between want to and accomplishment is, and it's summed up in 4 items that manifest in the quintessence. Those 4 items is want to, that is definite, that is big. Belief at the level of knowing belief. Intention, that you will, and commitment to it, which expresses as the quintessence unflagging, undeterrable action born from that clear mission and certainty that you will accomplish it. Okay, my friends, I hope I have been of value to you today, and I'll open it up for questions if we got time. I know everybody's got work to go to, too.
Wow. Wow. Oh, my goodness, that was so good. That was so apropos. That was so right down the line because, you know, Ted, my 21-day breakthrough challenge that I determined at the beginning of this year in meditation, it was like the Lord gave me a mandate to empower 1 million people or more to experience one or more breakthroughs in 21 days or less. And I just said, okay, I'm going to do it. And I knew I was going to. I didn't know how. And I think, Ted, that's when most people get tripped up. They're so big on the how that they lose sight of their intention. They lose sight of that because, you know, it's to them, it's not, okay, it doesn't really make sense. Like, how would this thing come to pass? And so, you know, the scripture puts it this way. If any man will do his will, he will know of the doctrine. So the way God does it is just backwards. We say, I want to know first, and then I'll decide if I'm going to do. God says, no, you got to commit to me that you're going to do it, and then I'm going to let you know. And that's exactly what happens. Isn't that what happens in life? That's what happened in your life. That's what everybody who makes something happen. That's what the way it is. They don't know. Like you said, they just have that intention, that belief, that strong commitment that it's going to happen. Like the Wright brothers, it's going to happen. Like Roger Bannister. I don't know how. Right?
That's it. That's it. By the way, Roger Bannister, I'd like to tell you, do you know what his time was on that sub 4 minute extra mile?
3:49.
You know, go ahead and give it. I had it. I used to quote it all the time, and it's slipping my memory. I think was it 6.6.
You got it. It was 3 minutes, 59 seconds, and 4/10 of a minute.
Yep.
He by 0.6 of a second, but he did it.
And that's what's important. And so my 21-day breakthrough challenge on day 4, I've had people tell me that one day alone is worth the price of the whole course. And what you said, in fact, you called me a name yesterday that I haven't been able to get away from. You said, what'd you say? Word-gician?
Word-gician. You are absolute a masterful word-gician, my friend.
I haven't been able to get away from that. That's wild. But here's the way I put it, though, Ted. And the whole while you're talking, it keeps coming in. It's like, wow. It's just another confirmation. And so we're going to open up for questions here in just a minute, folks. And I understand those you got to go. But the rest of us, we're going to hang out and have some fun here. We got what we need to hear this morning. We're going to run with it. But it goes like this. Once I make up my mind to do something, God will orchestrate circumstances to align themselves in my favor. When I say I can't, my mind stops trying. But when I ask, how can I? My mind keeps searching until it finds a way. There is a way, and I will find it. And if not, by the grace of God, I will invent it. That's the spirit that Roger Bannister had. That's the spirit that you have. That's the spirit that all champions have. And like I said, they may not verbalize it that way, but that's exactly what's happening. And so many people are missing the boat. And so folks, today, he gave it to you to take that difference. Everybody wants to. When I became the chief breakthrough trainer with the company here, and then I looked at what they were doing, I was like, you know what? I'm going to break some records. And not only am I going to break some records, I'm going to create a team that's a record-breaking team. That's exactly what we've done. Then I said, you know what? I'm going to be the first one to go to Crown 5. And, of course, the owner, he's a master distributor, so he technically was Crown 5. So I was going to decide the other day, well, I'll just do Crown 6 then before the beginning of the year. And nobody's ever done that, and we'll just make that happen. But, of course, Ted, when I started, I told the owner, I said, there's going to be something called a Crown 12. He said, no, we don't have that. I said, I know. I'm going to make you create it. And that sounds arrogant to some people, and that's fine. But watch and see what happens is all. and so now, Ted, this little thing that I was telling you a little bit, I decided about this 21-day challenge, and again, reaching 1 million people, empowering them to get one or more breakthroughs in the next 5 years or less. Liddy, who's on this line, took the 21-day challenge because of a pastor who said his life was transformed, and Pastor Gilliard, and so he told her about it, and she took it, and her life got transformed, and so she got a whole team of her people, and their lives started getting transformed, and it got me on the phone with this John Austin, and he says, man, I've got 63,000 members in 120 countries. I put it in the back office. We'll make an affiliate program. I said, wait a minute, are you telling me I would have like the assistance of like 62,000? But again, it started opening up, and now a pastor I just recently preached for in California has 1,000 members. So in January, he's putting all 1,000 of his members on the 21-day breakthrough challenge because he just went through it, and he said it's life transformational. And then he shot me a testimonial video. I sent it out to a few friends, and now a couple other pastors said, you know what? We need to do the same thing. And now, when I first started, Ted, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to reach 1 million people in 5 years. And, and my wife and I, we prayed about, and I even told her, Ted, I'm going to be like a ghost. I mean, baby, for one guy trying to do all this, but hey, we just pray and see what happens. And it started unfolding. And
So,
now it's getting clearer and more clear and more clear and more clear. So
Well, and look at this.
wow.
Look at this. It's because you couldn't see the future. We're human,
Right.
at the most part of our element. So you were thinking, how am I going to reach 1 million people, one person at a time? Well, God wasn't thinking what you were thinking. One person brought you 73,000 people. That's 1/20th of the way, beyond 1/20th of the way to your entire goal.
Wow. That's just incredible. So, all righty, who's got the question? I think we got old school out there. Who has a question for Mr.
Mr. Aruba, is your book in Barnes and Noble?
It's not in every book because that's a voluntary thing. They can order it, I guarantee you. And, of course, everything's on Amazon, and I do favor hard print, even though a lot of it is also in Kindle.
Okay, so you mean go to Amazon and get your book?
Amazon would be, for sure they've got it. If your local Barnes & Noble, they may or may not have it. That's what I'm saying. Some do, some don't. But they can order it also. So your preferred channel, that's the way you want to go to it.
Well, I'm learning, so I'll do what you tell me to do.
Perfect.
All righty. There you go. All righty. So, Star will unmute your line. Let's see here. Who's got a question for Ted Ciuba? Incredible presentation. Oh, my goodness. Powerful. Who's next? Star, I think will unmute your line.
Oh, this is Giovanni. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, champ.
I want to thank you for using that word trial. It kind of it sparked something when you noted that he didn't say that he failed. He said that he came back, and it wasn't that he failed, but it was another trial. So that's a trial. It resonates with me this morning. So whenever we're doing something, there's a setback. It's not a problem. It's just another trial. So we continue to go forward. So that move that touched me. Thank you so much for that.
Wonderful. Hey, and another thing I'd like to point out too, we're achievers, so we have different subjects when we get together, and extra mile is one of the things you'll always hear around sales teams and achiever groups. But the curious thing is when you look at it, when I first heard it, I said, "What? Extra mile? I mean, wait a minute, I clear out my ears. Was that mile as in only one single mile? You didn't say extra 100 miles? Extra mile? I got it, man. I take that in a few strides. That's the amazing thing."
Wow. All righty, Lorette, I think just make sure you don't have any background noise going on there. Lorette, I think you had a question or a comment. Just unmuted your line.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Can hear you, Lorette.
Yes, you can.
Good morning. Actually, my question was answered, but I just want to thank you for the amazing insights and inspirations that you shared with us this morning. I am just totally pumped up by what I've heard, and I can't wait to implement. I thank you.
Well, thank you, and I am grateful that I had the opportunity that Dr. Stan invited me, and that I get to play a part in the lives of all of you who are affected by it.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Anybody else quickly? Anybody else? Star will unmute your line. Anybody else quickly? Anybody else? Well, I see Mr. Will Langley out there. Ted, this guy's 86 years wise. He calls me his mentor. I call him my hero. I said, when I'm 86, I want to still be building the business, jumping on phone calls. Anytime I speak in the area, he makes it out there, and matter of fact, Mr. Langley, your son, was he a 3-star general in the Marines, or what? Your line's unmuted, Mr. Langley. Okay, you might have your mute on your phone, but you're unmuted over here.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
If he's not ready.
Sure.
I don't want to jump in front of him.
Go ahead. All right.
All right.
He's working on unmuting his phone or something.
You made a statement, a single reason why, and I didn't get the rest of it. I mean, I heard it, but I didn't make note of the rest of it. A single reason why, you were alluding to the fact that it can change your life, but I wanted to understand that statement. But that was powerful.
Yeah. Well, for instance, Roger Bannister did what nobody could possibly do. Had thousands of years of results. The medical profession was on their side, but he made a decision. That was a single reason why. The single reason why he was able to do it is because he took his desire and put it to the level of belief that he could, intended to do it, there's your reason, and was committed to do it and did what he could, a meager 30 minutes a day of practicing with the intention. Intention trumps time, but it's a single reason why, and this goes other ways too. I know that I used to, those of you may know a gentleman named Sean who used to roll around in a wheelchair. God bless him, he's gone on to greater fields right now. But his dad was, back in the day, was always traveling with him. His dad was not sacrificing to be with his son. His dad was there to open doors. A single reason why. Sean was a remarkable person. He, pygmy, all kinds of medical problems, who affected people's lives positively because he had a single reason why. To prove to people that it's what's inside, not what's outside, that determines the contribution that we make. A single reason why.
All right. Thank you so much. Love it. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you so kindly.
Wow. Every leader on this line, every business person on this line, I mean, you should be eating this up. You should be gobbling this up. Matter of fact, Ted, a couple of the coaching clients last night, I covered a thought that goes along with this, and it's not what you don't have that keeps you from being happy or successful, but rather it's only what you think you need. Life doesn't respond to our need. Life responds to our seed. And so you're talking about people, they weren't focused on what they didn't have and what they couldn't do and what degrees they did. No. So it's not what you don't have that keeps you from being happy or unsuccessful. It's only what you think you need. But what you have to learn to do is take what you have, get busy leveraging that, and then you can, the things that you want, you can take what you already have and leverage and create those things. But you never come from a place of need. You come from, as Ted was talking about, a want, a strong desire, an intention, a belief, and a commitment. I mean, and just get after it. And folks, I'm telling you that life is full of powerful illustrations like this, and people. And listen, if God did it for somebody, He could do it for anybody. But He didn't make you an anybody. He made you a somebody. So guess what, my friend? It could be your time. When you heard Ted Ciuba talk about yesterday having $100,000 days, $1 million days, right? 4 of them back to back. And by the way, I got to watch that dance you did, Ted. but when Ted said that, some of you, it should have sparked something inside of you saying, wait a minute. If he did it. See, that's why, again, you've got to learn to, the scripture says, rejoice with those that do rejoice and weep with those that weep. See, instead of being a hater, right? Hater, Haters, having animosity toward everyone reaching success. See, the great learn to celebrate. And when you celebrate, you literally are bringing that closer to yourself, my friend. And so what the media, what people are trying to do, they're trying to get you to look at successful people like, yeah, they probably did something wrong. Yeah, and you're not appreciating them. You're not celebrating them. You end up hating on them. Hence, you will never be there. You got to learn, my friend, to understand. It's like, celebrate it all. It's like, man, I'm so happy for them. I'm grateful. It's, but I'm telling you, my friend, people that do that, when you start celebrating others, it starts coming your way. It's amazing. So the great celebrate, and everybody else they hate. So if you're going to be great, you got to learn to celebrate. But when Ted said that about the day that he had, and that should have spurred something inside of you that, man, this dream that I have is not crazy after all, because this is probably, the rest of your day you're going to be around doubters and deniers and the what if it doesn't work kind of people. This call is where you're around people like Ted and others saying, yeah, you can do it. Yeah. And what if it works even better than you thought, right? What if you could have more, even beyond what you imagine? And by the way, they say you'll never have, you got to dream big because you never have more than that. Well, I can tell you that's a lie. I never even dreamed that I would have accomplished and done some of the things I've done. I mean, it was beyond my dream. So I serve a God that can take you way beyond that, my friend. Dream as big as you want, but I'm saying don't even limit that. People talk about outside the box. I love that Bruce Lee quote, "What box?" Right? The dude was like, "What box?" So Ted, again,
and you were talking too, Stan. You were talking about not knowing how you shouldn't stop.
Yes.
That was exactly the story I got. I was a founder, served as president of World Internet Summit, the largest, longest-running entrepreneurial internet marketing training organization of the world. But there was something that came before that. It was called the How to Get Rich on the Internet Boot Camp. Now, I did not know how I was going to accomplish my goal of being a global internet marketing training organization. I had no idea. But what I did know is that my first step was to conquer America. So when I did that, a guy comes from Australia. He asks me, "Hey, Ted, you ever thought about bringing that to Australia?" And just as quickly I turned back and said, "I'm finished." "What do you mean you ever thought about it? That was my intention all along. Let's do it." But I didn't create that. I mean, I didn't know how it was going to happen. I just knew that the big step in front of me, that was what I had to get done anyway. Because if I didn't get that done, none of the other dominoes would ever fall in place.
Wow. Folks, I'm telling you, lift your head up high, get your belief back, pick your dreams back up, dust them off, my friend, and just practice what you heard today. I say it all the time, and I'll close out and say this. When you believe like we believe and do like we do, what happens for us can happen for you. But because we're not the standard, it can happen even better for you. And by the way, that's my desire. That's my prayer. That's part of what I've dedicated my life to. So, my friend, it's time for you to break through.